Bill, I don't, thank you. And Bill, I don't remember, does your seat have an alternate?
Let's see here, Bill.
We
Sorry,
can
I
go
was a
through
couple
it.
of minutes late.
Oh, you're not, just pre,
Bill does not have an alternate in his
Okay.
that seat.
okay. Okay, well, it's 2 o'clock. Welcome everyone. This is a State Building Code Council IBC Technical Advisory Group for October 3rd, 2024. And would you please take roll?
Chair Todd Bayreuther.
Here.
Thank you. Alternate Chair Roger Haringa.
I am here for the first half of the meeting.
Thank you. Architect Primary Joe Mayo.
Here.
Thank you. For the alternate Chair Fortaleza. Not seeing them in the attendees list. Building Official Primary Tim Woodard.
Here.
Thank you. For the alternate Steve Belzak. Don't see them in the attendees list. For Fire Services Representative Lance Dahl, he let us know that he won't be able to attend today, so he's out. Cities and Counties Primary Hoyt Jeter.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Affordable Housing Representative Primary Todd Sullivan. Not seeing them in the attendees list. With the General Contractor Developer Primary William I. Bush.
Present.
Thank you. For Manufacturer Supplier Primary Brian Horstman.
Here.
Thank you. For Structural Engineer Primary Joshua Mergens.
Here.
Thank you. For the alternate Trent Tenney. Not seeing them in the attendees list today. For the Persons with Disability or Accessibility Expert Primary Michael Shaw.
Present.
Thank you. For Building Owner or Property Manager Primary Brett Conway. Not seeing them in the attendees list here today. The General Public Subject Matter Expert Primary Michael Barth.
I'm here.
Thank you. For the alternate Leah Summer.
Here.
Thank you. For State Enforcement Agency Primary Paul Clark.
Here.
Thank you. And Fire Protection Engineer Primary Andy Leonto.
I'm here.
Thank you. So a quorum is 8, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 seats represented. So Bill, when you leave, if you're the only one gone at that point, we will not be suffering for lack of quorum at that point.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dustin.
Dustin, I also have a oncology appointment today at 3 o'clock. So
Okay.
I'll have to jump off at 3.
We
Or
should still
quarter to
be
3.
okay at that point as well. If we lose 2 more throughout the meeting, we will suffer lack of quorum.
And Hoyt and Bill, if there's any of the proposals that you absolutely want to be part of, just let us know when you're leaving, and we can consider how we want to deal with that, if we want to table them or for a little bit later. But knowing that
Yeah,
we
we
might
did-
have to, go ahead.
The ones that I've submitted and stuff for like the city of Tacoma, if there's any way to
Yeah.
get to those first, that would be great.
Yeah, that's what I knew you had your name on those. So, okay. And related to that, we haven't done this before, but continue with the introductions. Before we ask for anyone from the general public, could we maybe poll and see if any of the proponents are here, just so we can kind of know who might be here. They might join later, but just kind of give us a heads up.
Let me pull up the document here so I can call.
I think it's up here. So, oh, you have a document with the proponents?
Yeah, I'll have the proponent names on there, at least their contact names.
I didn't mean to be too formal with this. I just want to give an opportunity for anybody to state they're here.
That's okay.
I can go if that's okay.
Please.
Yeah, I'm Smita Gupta, Director for Codes and Policy at the New Buildings Institute. and representing my colleague Ariel Brenner, who submitted a written statement. So here, more to represent in her absence, so not don't have an active part, but here to be the eyes and ears to address
Okay.
anything real time or take back. So just acknowledging the presence here.
Thank you. And I now that I started that, I don't know how to cross-reference which proposals.
I'm
Maybe if
trying
you could
to
identify.
pop open a document here with
Okay.
names there. But we got some other
Okay.
hands up in the audience.
Yep, Patrick.
Yes,
Thank-
Patrick Hanks with the Building Industry Association of Washington. I'm here today. Unfortunately, I do have a scheduling conflict. I need to leave by 3:30 PM, but I'm hoping that we can get to the proposal by then. But I also tried to submit some written comments in case I have to leave before you get to it.
Okay, that's number 14, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Kathleen, please.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Petrie. I'm representing King County, and I'm kind of a stand-in for Ross Freeman. He has a potential conflict, so I'll be his backup. And we are in items, I believe, 12 and 13. Thank you very much.
I think you're right. Okay, thank you, Kathleen. Okay, Richard, please.
Richard Williams, representing Washington Association of Building Officials, and I'll be presenting 038. This is on the list of additional proposals that time permitting.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. And on question on 038, and when we get to the agenda, is that's a pretty. Oh, that's the stair pressure increase. Okay, that was the full single exit. Okay, thank you, Richard. John, please.
Well, since everyone's jumping in, I'm here to represent Wobble on proposal number 9.
9. Okay, thank you, John. Okay, and then Hoyt, are you 7, 8, 10?
7, 8, 10, 11, 15, and 16.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's
Sorry.
right. No, that's good.
Yeah, some of it I'll
Um,
just stand on my own. So. The one I would like to get to is the family home childcare. I found there was a mistake that I messed up in there where it wasn't clear that also sprinklers are required for that. I believed in the IBC. I thought you would get that anyway, but I've had a couple of people say you're not necessarily based on my proposal. So
Okay, and that's 11.
that's all.
Right.
Yeah, it's 11.
Okay, anything else? Well, thank you. I just wanted to try that. Okay, anyone else from the public like to be recognized before we move on? Okay, well, thank you. Agenda item 2 is to review and approve the agenda. Can we hear a motion to approve? And then we can talk about it.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Hoyt.
This is Josh. I second the motion.
I think I heard Josh. Thank you. Okay, so with that, before we talk about if we want to shuffle any, because we want to try to adhere to this as published, I would like to add a 4.5 where we just give a little time to make sure everyone's understanding the process and can ask any questions before we jump right in. So can I informally or formally add 4.5 for questions?
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments or proposed changes?
My only comments were to try to get the other agenda items reordered so that we can get folks who have scheduling conflicts heard before they have to leave.
I agree. Do we have proponents on 5 and 6 here? Go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to comment, looking like there's several EV charging, and I know we're trying to lump those together. BIAW asked for theirs to be reheard. Could we also shift, whenever we put theirs in, we shift the other ones at the same time?
Yes.
Right now, they're all in a row, it looks like.
Yeah.
But Patrick, your conflict's at 3:30 and White, you're at 3, right? So. Okay. Okay, thank you for that, Tim. I didn't get an answer. Are 5 and 6 are proponents for 5 and 6 here, or can we push those?
I think we heard from, I believe, Samita.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, so the written comments for that proposal are already been submitted in writing. I'm here as a stand-in, so I don't have any active presentation to do, but just if there are any questions that I can address or take back. So if you want to make that depending on where you want to put that in the agenda.
And that's on 5 or 6. I'm sorry that I
On
don't
6,
remember.
on number
On 6.
6.
Okay,
This is Josh Mergens. I'm on 5.
you're 5. Okay, that one's pretty straightforward, right, Josh?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right. Maybe I'm holding us up just talking about. Let's just maybe get started. And anyone else want to make any changes? Okay, so the motion is to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, agenda is approved. Item 3 is review and approve the minutes from September 26, 2024. As we put those up, can we hear a motion to approve? And we will
We
review them
don't
before we
have
vote.
those ones ready for this meeting.
Okay, that's okay.
Yep.
Make that easy. Cross that one out. Thank you. Okay, public comment, agenda item 4. Does anyone have a comment, would like to address the tag on item not on the agenda?
Todd, you asked me to kind of talk about proposal versus petition.
Yeah, I was gonna do that for 4.5, so we can just roll into it if there's no other public comment.
Okay, I'll hold off for just a moment.
Okay. All right. With that, yeah, Justin, I'll just set it up a little bit. I can't remember which, was it a council meeting or another tag where we discussed and you gave us a summary after talking to Derek about the definition of petition and specifically the question is, I'll just frame it for everyone, in the new statute, now in statute RCW 1927.033, it says a petition for an amendment referred to a technical advisory group must be approved by a majority of the technical advisory group voting members to be taken up for consideration by the State Building Code Council. So what has happened, items that are on the agenda today have already been referred straight from the council down to us, the technical advisory group. So with that, raises the question of what is a petition, and Dustin?
So I spoke at our last council meeting to address a question that was given, and I had some initial consultation with our legal representation to kind of define what a petition is versus a proposal. And upon that initial consultation with council, I had the impression that a proposal was different than a petition because it was located in, or I guess we use the term proposal in some places and petition in other places when we're reading the laws in wax. So I spoke at the council meeting and said some things that I got some additional counsel on after Dirk heard what I was saying. And in the eyes of the law, a petition or a proposal is the same thing. So as we need to consider that, we have to have the majority of this group recommending adoption before the committees or the council can hear a proposal for final adoption. And so just as a shortening of the whole diatribe I'm giving here, a petition is a proposal and a proposal is a petition. There is a second avenue for petitions to come in using a form provided by the Office of Financial Management. And that starts a Administrative Procedures Act process when we receive that form. Any other petition, be it a proposal or not, still has to comply with the rules for petition in the new RCW there, or the new language in RCW.
Okay, thank you, Dustin. That's exactly what I was looking for, because that seems very consistent with our WAC 5104. It only uses the term petition, to my knowledge. They don't define it, but that seems consistent, right?
Yes, and
Okay.
we use the term proposal colloquially, and I think it leads to some confusion. So I think we should maybe start using the term petition when we are referring to the actions we're undertaking here.
I think that's true. Thank you, Dustin. Okay, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you for that. And thanks for, clearing that up, for everyone, Dustin and Todd, and attention to that. I just want to also highlight that, the new statute from SB 6291 and also WAC makes clear that incomplete petitions, should not be considered by the council. And, we just want to make sure that there's attention that forms are being filled out correctly and all the information that's being requested is on there, so that any proposal that's pushed forward by the tag won't face any challenges, whether it's editorial or substantive, whether we agree with it or disagree with it, that they'll all be able to be passed by the council. I did see a few proposals today that I think may have issues. So I tried to send some comments to the proponent and to the email the SBCC with to flag those and offer some potential solutions for proponents. So just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. I have a couple of comments on that after we hear from Mr. Micah.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Dustin. Dustin, I'm still not clear what you're saying. If we're going by the RCW, it was, as I have been concerned about, is that if the tag does not approve your proposal, it does not move into a minority report. You have no other opportunities to make your case, make changes, do anything else. It just dies at the tag level.
So I guess as far as the minority report, if there's any dissenting votes or anything like that, there'd be a report put forward that contains that type of information as a, I guess, means to kind of address the concern that there's no opportunity to bring it back at the fire tag earlier this week. If we had a proposal rejected on, whatever reason that the fire tag decided they wanted to reject it, they did offer to the proponent to bring it back with some work done to it to be heard at a little bit later date. But as I'm understanding it with the input from our council is that, yes, if it is not approved by the tag, it dies at the tag.
That puts a real limitation on what we can modify and puts a real damper on participation. Second question is, the rule RCW states that must be approved by the majority of the tag. If there's no quorum and there's no vote by the majority of the tag, does the proposal then die? Because there's no clarification there either.
It would be my reading of that, if we have no quorum, we couldn't conduct the business, so it's neither dead nor moved forward. So that's why we're stressing the importance of folks making these meetings while we're discussing the proposals. If we don't have a quorum at one of these meetings, I think we can still hold discussion on it and maybe bring a summary of that discussion to a subsequent meeting where actual business can be conducted with the quorum present.
Thanks.
And Micah, just let's keep this conversation going a little bit here, but John, go ahead, please.
No, I have related question to what Micah said and what Dustin, your response was. So just to be clear, when it says must be passed by a majority of the tag, that's not the majority of the people voting, it's a majority of the tag.
Another hard question, because it's not specifically spelled out.
Meaning that if you barely have
if you have just a
barely have a quorum, it's going to be real hard. It could be really hard to get things voted through because you need a majority of all the people. So not attending is basically a negative vote.
Right. So I guess if we have just a quorum present, that is representative of the 1+ of the majority of the tag. So if we have a quorum only, we would need to have a unanimous vote.
And this is Roger's favorite topic, so go ahead, Roger.
Yes, it is my favorite topic and one that I've been talking with Dirk about. And the majority vote is defined in that new law, and I do not have it in front of me, sorry. And it is the majority of the members present. There is a definition in there, and again, if somebody could find it, that would be fine, but it is the majority of the members present.
Dustin, you want to pull up 19.27.033, please? And this is also why it's important, and we're having this discussion now where, and we started talking a little bit about absences, and then the ability of the tag now to put someone in ex officio status so that they're not counting towards the quorum. And we weren't trying to make a threat last time. We wanted, but now that it's kind of prime time, we want to make sure we're very careful about how we do this. And the other thing I'll say as we start to read this is, I as chair will be very careful if there is a petition that is in danger, that we will come up with a process to park it to the side and make sure we very carefully approach that before we give it a no vote. And then we will establish at the tag what our process is, if we want to table it to the next time, if we're asking for more information from the proponent or from tag members to propose amendments to improve it, in addition to making sure that we then post whatever we have in writing 48 hours before the next meeting, so that there's plenty of time to process this and we're not making quick, knee-jerk reactions, because this is the part that makes me nervous with the new statute. So in this right here, with the last section 3 is what I was referring to, and then we started the conversation with Roger. What section are you referring to in here?
He's referring to something that's not necessarily contained within here. I'm surfing the RCW looking for it right now.
It was in if you go to the actual bill that was passed, that definition was in the bill that was passed. I'm, not
I'll
sure
keep
where.
looking here. Hoyt, do you want to go ahead? Sorry to interrupt you, Roger.
Yeah, if that's an issue, I could just miss my oncology appointment. I've already had the blood test and stuff. So, I could stay on if it has to. So it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, again, if there's anything that's in question, or there's some scenario where somebody's missing in the proponent, or it will also just be careful how we administer these meetings, so we don't inadvertently disqualify something. Okay, so in the bill, Roger, I'm looking at now. And we don't have to get hung up. I mean, we can talk about this too. We can take a little time to read off to the side as we get the meeting started here, but
Why don't you go ahead? If you want to, Todd, I will try to dig it up as well.
Okay, and we can take a pause and bring it back into the agenda. Okay, so that's what I wanted to raise. Thank you, everyone. Any other questions or concerns before we jump into actual proposal consideration? My understanding today is that there are 12 proposals / petitions that are in front of us. My reading of this, the fact that they're in front of us, means they've gone through the initial screening by staff. And maybe that's my last question to Dustin or staff. Can you refresh us on what that means? And how that relates to the 30-day opportunity for a proponent to respond with more information for an incomplete proposal?
So it was a 7-day window after if a proposal was denied. But staff received the proposals, did a cursory review to look at the language proposed, not necessarily for the substantive changes there, but to look at the formatting and things so that we are clear on what the changes are supposed to be. We reviewed the rest of the forms. We checked for the contact information in section 1. I'd have to pull up the form to remember all the sections, but we essentially go through section 1 through 5 and 6 and 7. And if there's no economic impact claimed by the proponent, we're not looking for a lot of information in section 7. And so as a cursory review to see that there are answers in the form fields, not necessarily the veracity of all the answers in those form fields.
Okay, and then on the economic impact on petitions that are not part of the energy code, can you refresh us on what the level of consideration should be at the TAG level?
For the economic impact of
Yes,
those.
please.
The level of consideration should be a rationalization that says, if there is no economic impact, we're not going to have a lot of information to review. But if this body views that there is economic impact as a result of the code change, we should be asking for a little bit more information from the proponent on that part, and then giving them a little bit of time to get that back to us, and we can kind of work out a game plan after that.
And how does this compare to the level of consideration that needs to occur once a CR 102 is filed? Is it different?
The consideration we're doing here on these items will lead to the information that is filed in the CR 102. So we're looking to have economic impact statements, preliminary cost benefit analysis prepared before we file those. And so it's the same level as what's going on there. It's just we're taking the information that we are discussing here at this level, and we will be putting it into those documents for actual publication within the Washington Register.
Okay, and then I think the distinction I'm trying to make here to set everyone up is, as I chair this meeting today, I'm going to propose that our focus is on the technical merit first of these proposals for our recommendation, that we do comment on the economic impact section of that. But I want to remind everybody, I think this is the correct statement. We are not in rulemaking yet. This these are recommendations to the committee, the standing committee, and then the council to enter into rulemaking. Is that a correct statement?
I mean, we are in the beginning processes of our rulemaking. As part of our process, this part of our process is the way that the council engages the public for input on these potential changes. And so if we were looking at the APA, there's some specified like pilot programs and other ways that agencies can engage the public and get their code changes vetted that way. With us, we have a customized process designed by the council over the years that it's been acting in this capacity to engage the public in a little bit different way.
Okay, and I'm gonna hand over to Roger in a second here, but what another way to say that is, we're all would like perfection from proponents. We're not going to get it, so let's identify what level of perfection the proponents have achieved, and that's part of our commentary and the recommendation. Okay, Roger, go ahead, please.
Yeah, sorry, I'm multitasking. I wanted to respond. I know there was a conversation, and I don't know if it was at an SBCC full council meeting or a legislative committee meeting when we talked about the impacts of the legislation that was passed, which I just pulled up, House Bill 6291. The comment that was made about the judge of whether a proposal or a petition, if that's what we're calling it, is complete, was left with the staff, that there's no other body here that is the judge as to whether a petition is complete or not. So my opinion is that any proposals that have gone through a staff review at this point would be considered complete, and we would consider them. And we would assume that they are valid and as complete as they need to be, because there is no other body within the within SBCC to say whether a proposal is complete or not. And I certainly don't think that that is while people can have opinions on whether on the level of completeness of a petition, there's nothing in any legislation that is going to be the arbiter of whether that is complete or not. other than the staff. And I believe if that's something that the SBCC needs to do officially, to make that clear, that's something that we could take up at the next meeting. But I believe that that's the definition of whether or not a proposal is complete or not is it has undergone a staff review, and the staff has determined that it is complete.
Yeah, thank you, Roger. I agree with that, and I propose that's how we run these meetings, Micah.
Thanks. The section Roger referred to earlier about the majority vote language is under section 9 of the bill, which is item 2. Approved, approval, adopted, unless otherwise defined or otherwise indicated by context, means an affirmative vote by a majority of the voting members of the council, committee, or advisory group present at the time of the vote. So if you've got a quorum, it only has to be a majority of the quorum, not the entire quorum. So I believe Roger's correct. However, I believe under actual rulemaking, that's not correct. And that is under specific context as indicated by the language of the bill. Thanks.
Wait, say the last part again, Micah. What did you mean?
In other words, for rulemaking, you still need 8 of the council members to pass rulemaking, or 10 for energy code, because that is more specific than this general provision, and it indicates that in the general provision of that section.
At the council level.
Yeah.
Not it.
I agree with you, Micah, except I'm not sure I agree with at the council level. I think that's still up for question. But,
Oh, okay.
Whether it's 8 and 10, but we can pass that along. I think as far as the tag goes, it's clear that it is the majority of the members present.
Another president and quorum can be established minus the ex officios.
I'm sorry to
right.
interrupt. I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be back in
Okay.
30
Thanks,
seconds.
Okay, Patrick, put your way in, please.
Yeah, I think the intent of the voting provision for the tags is just, in the past, there was some petitions that the tag voted against, but then got brought up later on. So I think the intent of the law is if a majority of the members present vote to approve it, that is sufficient. The law doesn't specify it has to be a majority of the total members. Regarding Roger's comment about the completeness, I understand his perspective, but staff also just told you that they did not look for if all of the sections were necessarily complete. They were mainly just looking at the code language. The 2 biggest issues that I've seen are there's some proposals that clearly have an economic impact. They identify as such, but they check the box no, and then they don't fill out all of the other subsections that the form asks for, like a life cycle cost analysis or specific cost estimates. And then there's some proposals where the answer for number 5, which asks for a lot of things, is just 1 sentence. And, I know that there's more comments and context that are provided in these meetings, but sometimes these proposals are linked to later in the process. And if someone's coming back, or if a member of the public is following along, if there's not a clear documentation, it can be really confusing about why a proposal was adopted when the form's not complete. So that's just 2 issues that I've seen.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. And that's exactly what I'm trying to get ahead of here is for the purpose of this meeting, I would like us to assume that these are considered complete by staff. But in our recommendations, then we weigh in on the commentary, but I do not want to bog these down on just, debates about the economic impact. I want to do the technical merit first, and then I want us to give our opinions so that the standing committee and the council can further, dive into what additional economic impact requirements, could or should be implied there. So if we do disagree with the proponent that that there should be economic impact in there, then let's give our expert opinions as subject matter experts and then weigh in on that, whether or not we move it forward or not. But at this point, I'd like to start with our assumption that these are complete because they've gone through an initial screening, regardless of how perfect or imperfect that process is. So let's give all proponents a fair chance to both comment on this and also then improve it if we need to. Or I want to emphasize that that's our job too. And we have the ability to amend these proposals, and if we make major changes to them, then I propose that we park them and discuss whether or not we wait till the next meeting and make sure that there's 48 hours of notice of any written changes for consideration for people to process that may not be here. So, okay, thank you, Patrick. Okay, I think that's enough. I think we should get started. Anyone else? Go ahead, Dustin. You're muted.
I had been talking with staff about what you mentioned there, as far as if the tag modifies proposals, like how do we make sure that the public's engaged with those modifications? And we could do it as you described, table them for the next meeting and get them posted out there. Another thought was that, you know, we may make some modifications on the floor and make a recommendation for approval based on those modifications. Anything that's kind of done like that, my plan is to have one final tag meeting where we talk about any modified proposal and that we have them duly posted for the public to be able to digest on that one. So
Okay.
just that it was kind of something that was talked about at the fire tag earlier this week, and gave us some thought over the time space there. And so anything modified here today and recommended for approval, we'll just kind of go over at a final meeting everything that we have recommended to the committee, and solicit comments from public at that point and see if there's any other concerns from the tag members as well.
Okay, thank you. So with that, what is the when we take action today, what is the proposed motion?
The proposed motion is going to be, if we want to recommend approval to the council, that we recommend that the motion include the terms recommend for approval recommend for adoption to the council. If we make a motion to deny the proposal, we want to be careful and see if we can get the proponent to maybe change the proposal so that the tag would favor it for adoption. So if we have engagement that way and we're expecting something back, we will table that. So a motion to table a specific proposal. If we're looking to modify the proposal, I would look to get a motion for the modification of the proposal. And that will kind of bring us back to the beginning of this one, whether we're going to recommend approval or recommend adoption as modified to the committee and council above us. So kind of 4 different options, or 5 different options there, sorry.
Okay, and then since this is new territory for us, in one way I was thinking we could be careful about denying is to only make motions at first to in the affirmative to adopt or adopt with modifications. If it did not pass, would we still need a separate motion to deny, to officially deny it? Just by, if it doesn't reach a majority on adoption, it technically isn't denied yet, right? We still would have to make a motion to deny, in my understanding.
Correct.
So one way we protect ourselves is it's a glorified straw poll, and if we does not pass, then we can have a discussion about what the next steps are before we would officially deny it and lock it out. Is that reasonable with everyone? So I guess they ask there is motions. Can we start with motions to recommend adoption and have the discussion and vote on? Okay. If anyone's opposed to that, let me know now. But that was an idea I had with the new statute. Okay. Okay. We've talked a lot. Thank you. Let's move into our first item, which is agenda 5. Proposal 24 GP 1093, please.
Gotcha. So on this one, I have a PDF document only on this for some reason. And if we want to make modifications, I'll have to take notes and make the document viewable at a later time. So this one's from Josh Mergens on behalf of the tag. So it's for section 107.2 and .2.9.
Can you share your screen, Dustin?
Oh, I thought I was sharing already. I'm sorry. Okay, we should be seeing the proposal here. I've got it scrolled down to section 4 of the proposed changes here. And Josh, I was hoping that you might be able to run us through this one for the tag to consider.
Certainly. So it was brought up in our tag meeting, a good point that this existing amendment is giving us guidance on the structural notes, and it's located currently under construction documents, which is a subsection that explains what notes should go on a drawing, and that's great. However, there's a companion subsection in chapter 16 for specifically structural notes. So our suggestion was relocating this amendment to the structural notes portion purely for visibility. There's nothing wrong with it right now. All of these sections apply, but it was brought up by members of the tag that they have seen a lot of folks overlook this, most likely because of its location, because structural engineers like myself would go to chapter 16 where we have our construction document requirements. So the proposal is simply to move the location from chapter 1 to chapter 16.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay, and I should also lay out here, so we'll run these as a fairly open meeting. We don't, so we'll take public and the group comments at the same time here. So John, go ahead.
Thank you, Todd. I don't have any objections to the intent of what they're trying to do here. I do have some questions and some suggestions because it's not clear to me what we're using for the baseline here. So first of all, I just want to verify that the intent is that we'll revert to the 2024 IBC language in 107.2. We're not deleting the whole section. We're just deleting the amendment. So the result will be that 107.2 will refer to 107.2.1 through 107.2.8 instead of 0.9 as shown, and I just want to make sure that we're clear on that, because you still need the charging language, number one. Number two, I have a question whether or not we should be showing the deletion of 107.2.9 as well in the second section there where it says remove existing amendment. Should that be shown as struck through? And lastly, shouldn't 1603.1.5.1, shouldn't that be shown as underlined? And that I was having a little struggle with that when I was reading this first time, but I, figured it out. But I think for form's sake, we need to, those things should be done.
And John, I want to weigh in on a couple quick clarifications there. So we are adding the section 1603.1.5.1. And whether or not it needs to be underlined in this form, we could certainly get sorted out. But I just want to clarify, there's currently nothing in chapter 16 that expressly references IP. IE is referenced by chapter 16, but there is nothing for IP, which we believe is the genesis for this document, or I'm sorry, for this amendment, and why we want to have people including an IP as well, just as a clarification, because obviously importance factor for non-structural components is also needed information. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here, that we're not suggesting a reference of where it would go. My understanding, and I'll admit, this is my first year on the tag, so others jump in and correct me if I'm mistaken, but my understanding would be that amendment would be turned into a reserve status, and a new amendment would be made at 1603.1.5.1 with the same language carried forward that was in 107.2. Maybe I'm not hitting all of your points, but I just want to throw a couple of clarifications out there. And admittedly, I'm new to this process, so if there's some subtleties I'm missing, I'm open to that.
Yeah, I don't think you want to reserve 107.2. You still need the pointers to 2.1 and 2.8 ultimately, because those sections still apply. You're just moving 2.9. And so what I'm saying is that in that second section of the proposed code amendment, you'd be showing 107.29 in there as struck through, and then you would underline 1603 because that's new language. And this is just format. I'm not objecting to the change.
The only thing and certainly, and I think the format's important, just to highlight, John, if you look at the existing amendment, the only change to 107.2 is the addition of 107.2.9. There is no other change.
Understood. But my point is, again, not sure what we're using for the baseline. So if we're using WAC 5150 as the baseline, this sort of that showing the whole thing struck through is okay. If we're using the 2020, I don't know. I guess you'd have to do that. I think it would be clearer if you just struck instead of striking the whole 107.2, revert 107.2.9 to 107.2.8 on the form. Either that or else, like you say, and maybe it's a question for Dustin.
I think it may be, because ultimately what you're saying is to have an amendment that states what is stated in the IBC verbatim.
Yeah.
Okay, and if that's appropriate, that's great. That would be news to me as to why we would copy identical verbatim language from the IBC to the amendment, but I'm certainly open to needing to do that.
Part of my question, original question, and that maybe that's for Dustin, is that if we strike 107.2, are we just reverting back to 2024 language? And if that's so, then this is fine.
And that is the intent of what was going on here. So if we're looking at, like, you're correct, what's shown here, 1603.1.5.1 should be shown as an underline. The 107.2 section should be shown as strikeout, because we would remove this section from WAC. It wouldn't necessarily go to reserved unless we completely did away with WAC 107. But right now, if we, as shown here, this is a WAC amendment, not an amendment to the building code. If we're bringing new amendments into the building code, then we would show the difference from the building code in that particular proposal. As we go through and we're changing existing amendments, which this is kind of what this one is, we're moving stuff around, we would show the change from WAC.
Yeah. And as part of that, wouldn't we be striking, since 107.29 is part of the WAC, wouldn't we be striking that as well?
We would be striking the 107.29, and by striking it from WAC, the model code section would then replace it.
Yeah, there is no 107.29 in the model code, but yeah, okay.
Oh,
and I think that's kind of what we're all trying to get to. So Dustin, you were talking about leaving, because we're not getting rid of all of 107. Effectively, we are, because the only content of the WAC 5150-107 is the change to add a reference to section 107.2.9 and then adding the language of 107.2.9.
Then yes, we would be effectively reserving the section. And the only purpose for reserving a section is so that in the future, if we want to do an amendment in section 107, we have the WAC number available. If we just delete it, we can't use that same WAC number. There's a good example in the building code. Let me pop that one there. The section 1010 in here, there's an extra 0 in here because at some point an amendment was deleted, and in order to get a number back in there that made some sort of sense, you had to put an extra 0 in there. Same down here, 1017. There's just some weirdness. So WACs got deleted, and we can't use the old numbers once they're deleted. So yes, we would reserve 107. We would add 1603 in as a new WAC number. We don't have a 1603 currently, and section 107 would be model code, and the 107.2.9 is amendment language.
Okay. We'll continue. Thank you, John. That's why we need you here. Michael.
Micah was before me if he still wanted to speak. But
He
Thanks,
goes on and
Michael.
off.
I'm good.
okay.
All right, Michael.
Okay, so yeah, I was gonna agree with John, and it really is just a matter of putting it in proper legislative format. As it's all been discussed, the whole thing just needs to be struck out, and then essentially the non-structural components paragraph restated as underlined with its new number. So.
Okay.
And Dustin, I'm not sure the process. I mean, I'm happy to make any formatting changes if that's my charge. I just don't know how that works once it's already been submitted and accepted. But if there's, as everyone's describing the formatting changes I missed, I'm happy to make those changes and send it back if that's the proper thing to do.
So
Yeah, Josh,
on,
go ahead, Dustin.
on this one, because I'm working with PDF, I can't just start changing it. Everything else we have to work on here today, I have the Word document. So just to save a little bit of hassle, Josh, I'll go ahead and make the changes here and we'll bring it back at the end of the process. What I'm hearing is that the group is supportive of the proposal, just that it's not as clear as we would like it to be, showing what the changes are. So I've got some good notes here on what's going to be happening, and I will draft up this section to show it in the strikeout underline as appropriate. And I think what we'll do is we'll show some model code language, we'll show some amendment language, and we will have like maybe 2 sections in this section 4 to more clearly show what the change is and how things are moving around a little bit.
Okay, my one other thought with this may be a common theme in the other 2 proposals I prepared. Is there anything we want to work with offline for me to get those updated? They're not on the agenda for today's meeting. Happy to do whatever is appropriate for me to do, but also know it might be problematic for me to tinker from this point. So just let me know what you would like me to do. I'm happy to make that work.
Okay, let me after the meeting here today, I'll have to go back and check proposals that you got, and we can maybe set a little time to discuss them and see if there's any modifications that might show the change a little bit better.
Sure, and at the very least, I submitted PDF for everything. Sounds like everyone else did Word. I'm happy to give you the original Word documents if that's more convenient.
It would be spectacular. It makes it easier for me to work on them at the meetings.
Yeah, good to know now.
And Josh, as long as we have version control, we can compare to what was submitted originally. We absolutely, our goal here is to improve them. So.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, folks. I'll stop taking up so much time on a relatively.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Roger.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. Number 1, Josh, I just wanted to make sure that what we're seeing for 1603.1.5.1, is that exactly the same? It's not formatted quite the same, the 1 and 2, but what you were doing is copying, pasting everything that was in 107.2.9 and putting it down in 16, correct?
Yes, if there's any differences, that's purely typographical. That the intent was to take the language from the WAC verbatim.
Yeah, number 1 was tabbed down, and then there's a number 2. So, and
oh,
then
Lord, I did not know that tabs mattered to that degree. So perhaps it doesn't meet.
Well, that's kind of my second question and or comment is, you know, I completely, John, we love having your comments about underlining, because eventually that has to happen and it has to be done correct. But going back to the fact that our main purpose today is to vote on the technical merits of this. And, you know, when the underlining and you know, I think the discussion we've had here is we need to make sure that we have 107.2 through 2.1 through 2.8 are still going to be in the code. We need to make sure that there isn't a 2.9, but we're adding 3.1.5.1 into the code, which is their charging language in chapter 16. That's the question that I would have to go dig into chapter 16 and make sure that that is referenced at some point, and we should make sure that that happens. But I go back, Todd, I think the purpose of today is, I think the tag can, I believe the discussion we've had, the tag could vote on this and say, yes, the technical merits are, we want to move this down. Now, if there's some wording and some underlining and some confirming that we have it done exactly right so that it's completely proper code language, I think that can happen either at the, you know, from the staff doing it, or the proposal moves forward. You know, as the proposal moves forward, it gets tweaked a little bit just to make sure that the language is completely correct. Because I know that I would guess a large portion of the proposals do not have exactly perfect code language within them. And part of our whole process over the next 2 weeks, if those proposals are approved on a technical basis, is integrating them into the code properly. And that has to happen, but it doesn't necessarily have to happen, I don't think, before the tag does a blessing, yes, this is a proper proposal.
Yeah, Roger, I agree with you. I think we can vote if there are no major technical changes here, but we would want to see, if there were technical changes here, we'd want to see those changes live here. Micah, go ahead.
Thanks. I just want to ask the proponent on numbering. This item is specific to earthquake design data required on the construction documents for structural. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay, and that's why you're going with 1603.1.5.1 as a subsection, of course, of 1.5, and not just in the standard list of 1603.1 for all construction documents that have structural
Yes,
data.
because this specifically relates to seismic data, and it kind of, the location helps to clarify the intent, because the model code requires a seismic importance factor, which applies to almost everything in a building, except for the cases of non-structural components. We have a different factor, IP, which is what it's trying to clarify. So the intent of putting it this section was to have it together with where it defines IE and other seismic criteria. The reason I didn't modify 1603.1.5, and certainly there's nothing wrong with it, was because I wanted to maintain the existing WAC language verbatim to try to make for ease of this process, but it could also be incorporated in that 1603.1.5 if that were to be more appropriate, but I don't necessarily see a benefit from a readability standpoint, but there may be legal reasons I'm unfamiliar with that would require it.
Nope, your explanation is perfect. I just wanted to be curious for us non-engineers. Thanks.
No, that's great. Thank you for asking, sir.
Thank you. And Tim, before we get to you, Hoyt, we obviously run up to 3 o'clock. I think it's fine if we want to delay yours, all those Tacoma proposals, if you want to go to your appointment.
Okay, is that okay? I mean,
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
'Cause I don't think we can guarantee when we'll get to them anyway here. So I'd hate for you to stick
Sounds-
around and then we don't get to them.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right,
Okay,
thank you,
bye.
Hoyt. Okay, Tim.
Just wanted to comment on Roger's suggestion that we need to make sure that there's charging language. 1603.1 does provide that charging language, so I think we're okay.
Okay. Okay, so with that, are there any technical challenges to this? And then if not, how do we want to proceed? Do we want to take a vote on the technical merit and knowing that we want to see maybe improved language before we would do a final vote as Dustin's proposed?
I would support that. So because there's just kind of question of what all is happening here with the language, I would like to see this one recommended for adoption on the technical merit, but not pushed all the way forward until our final meeting when we can have the appropriate drafting of that language presented properly.
Okay, is that the right motion then, or is there some better way to do that, to move this forward for final adoption? Patrick, go ahead.
What if you recommend adoption on the technical merits and direct staff to make editorial changes so
Okay.
that the code language fits?
Yeah, I think that's a good category. We made up a new category, but I think that's what we're saying here.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, any other comments? Okay, then would someone like to make that motion? Please, on the tag.
I'll make that motion. This is Tim. And that motion is to carry it through on its technical merit and allow staff to make editorial changes.
Yeah. Recommend adoption for the technical merit. Okay. Bill, was that you in a second?
Michael Barth, I'll second that.
Michael, okay, so Motion by Tim, second by Michael. Okay, any other discussion? I think we can try a voice vote here, and then if we need to, we would take roll call. Or Dustin, is anyone opposed to that? Do you want a roll call on all these?
No, my idea was to do a voice vote, call for the
Okay.
opposition. If there's opposition with multiple parties, then we do the roll call.
Got it. I agree. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and just so everyone knows, I'm gonna abstain unless my vote's needed to break a tie. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, thank you, folks.
Okay, the second petition is the new building institute proposal, so 24 GP 1118.
So for this one, I believe my colleague submitted a written statement. I'm a stand-in and can help with some immediate questions. But for more detailed ones, I'd have to defer. So let me know how to best address.
So the written statement, I do believe on this one is in here, these sections.
There's a separate document that was a one-pager, a short statement, and I can help paraphrase that further if it helps, but there was a
If you could go-
one-pager statement
don't-
submitted.
I don't have that one in my documents for this meeting here today. If you could paraphrase that for the group, that would be most helpful.
Sure. So essentially, this proposal is to add embodied carbon and greenhouse gas emission declaration for projects that are over 1,000 square feet beginning 2025. Given that GHG emissions are a big part of buildings, that are responsible for 39% of the GHG emissions, and about 11% of those are associated with the embodied carbon in building materials. So this proposal really is a declaration of embodied carbon in three building materials primarily that would be submitted for projects that are over 100,000 square feet. And there are three forms of documentation that, one of the three documentation routes can be adopted by submitting the material EPDs, which is the environmental product declarations, or submitting a building level data for the whole building life cycle assessment, or submitting proof of reuse of at least 45% of existing building. Essentially, it has, the proposal here draws from other precedents, namely California statewide building code Cal Green, the latest version of which is already in effect. And in general, it aligns with the Buy Clean and other, initiatives at the, federal and national levels. So that's sort of the short version of it. And so there are new sections recommended for inclusion here.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And this is probably going to be a deep one here. Roger, why don't you go ahead, and then I have a couple questions that we can ground this better and by clean and last code cycle where we also considered a similar proposal. Go ahead, Roger.
Well, I have a editorial comment in that if what we just did was get rid of 107.2.9, so we need to figure out from a numbering perspective, if this goes through, does this become 107.2.9?
This
Or-
would become the new 107.2.9.
Okay, so again, that's just purely a numerical editorial thing that we will need to get clear, and also a reason why we're not going to have these exactly 100% editorially, because we may change something in a different proposal and numbering will get messed up. So, and Todd, I'm going to let you set the stage. I have comments that I will add, but I will wait.
Hey, this
Well, I
is
don't
Bill.
know
I'm
if I'm
gonna
best
jump in real
qualified to do
quick.
that. I recognize everything in this, but I just
Thanks,
maybe we
Bill.
need more from others. to ground this in how this relates to, the multiple bills that have been proposed in the legislature at the policy level, and then if we have many new TAG members that weren't part of the process 3 years ago when EPDs and others, considerations in those policy proposals were brought into rulemaking, or proposed to be brought into rulemaking in the building code, which it wasn't successful last time, and they're not making any comment on on that. I just would like to. I think we need probably more background, please, on when this gets proposed in the building code versus when it's proposed in policy, statewide legislature. Thank you.
Sorry to butt in, you guys. Steve Belzak here. I'm back on track. I just got out of my other meeting, so I'll be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
This is Bill. I'm about to step out unless there's a vote right now.
No, I think we're a little ways away from that, Bill. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, cheers.
With Hoyt and Bill being potentially gone, we're still with quorum, so we're good to go.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Roger, do you want to continue?
Yeah, Todd, I will go ahead because I was involved in the process last year, and I do think things have changed. Number one, number two, I think this proposal is much more comprehensive and clear and complete than the proposal that we were starting with last time. So several comments I have. Number one, the proposer has done a very good job of spelling out the need from a global warming potential, and that's farther down in the language where they explain why. I would ask if there was, Justin, I saw something flash up, a one pager, that I think that should get distributed to everybody so that they can read it.
Okay.
And I would thought, I'm not sure necessarily that this is going to come up for a vote now. I think people need to digest this. That's my personal opinion. I guess I would jump down to, I have a number of notes, and whether this is an issue that fits within the building code or not, Todd, that you mentioned. I have section 101.3 of the code, which is the intent. And the intent says the purpose of this code is to establish the minimum requirements to provide a reasonable level of safety, public health, and general welfare. I know there's been comments in the past that the code is only a life safety code, and I don't necessarily agree with that, given this interpretation or this reading of 1.1.3. It goes on to say, through structural strength, means of egress facilities, stability, sanitation, adequate light and ventilation, energy conservation, and this is the underlined part in my copy, safety to life and property from fire and other hazards attributed to the built environment. I think given the fire and other hazards that we have had from global warming, I think to just turn our back on the building code and say the building code shouldn't apply to anything reported related to global warming is a little bit like sticking our head in the sand. Number two, these requirements are basically already required in the state of Washington through the Buy Clean, Buy Fair Act that has been passed in the legislature, which had not been passed, Todd, at the last time. So for public buildings over 100,000 square feet, basically these same things are going to be required by statute. Meeting these criteria are not difficult. DCI has done very similar studies, the whole building LCA studies. We've been able to meet those very easily without any added construction cost whatsoever. These are very, very easy things to achieve. There is little or no impact to authorities having jurisdiction. I saw Micah stick his hand up there. Basically, this says very clearly that reviewers, the only thing that reviewers have to do is enforcement, is make sure that the design professional of record has signed off that yes, this is complete. So reviewers and enforcement from a city official or a county official is pretty minimal. Next point, there This is only for buildings over 100,000 square feet. Those are a very, very small percentage of the total projects that are done within the state. It would not include any single family residence. Well, actually, if you have a single family residence that's over 100,000 square feet, then I think, trying to adhere to this probably would not be an issue for you. And even for the multifamily buildings, if you used an average of 1,000 square feet per unit, which is way more than what you're seeing in the current typical multifamily building these days, it would be, you'd have to get over the 100 unit range. So there are a whole lot of small multifamily buildings that this would not apply to. It's only for larger buildings. Next point, EPDs are very, very available these days. And in fact, in 2 years, when this code would actually become effective, the number of those EPDs are going to be even higher. I know that the EPA has distributed something like $160 million in grants to increase the quantity and quality of EPDs, and some of those companies or groups that have applied for and gotten grants include the ICC, Heidelberg Materials, Portland Cement Association, Priestess Concrete Institute, National Ready Mix Concrete Association, the American Wood Council, and the UW, which is developing tools that are going to make kind of a plug and play so you can create your own PDs in a very, very simple way. So given the fact that this code is not going to go into effect the earliest 2 years from now, the number of EPDs and the ability to get those EPDs should be relatively easy for people to accommodate if they don't already have them. So I can go on and on. I believe, going back to number one, we spend roughly, and my numbers are slightly different than what they put in their argument down below, but roughly 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions today annually come from operational carbon in buildings, and we do a whole lot of work in our codes to try to reduce that. But 10%, so a third as much that comes into operational carbon, comes from embodied carbon. And this proposal is very, very basic, very, very easy for people to accommodate. And it is it's a beginning for us to reduce that embodied carbon. So I'm happy to answer questions or provide additional commentary as needed.
Yeah, thank you, Roger. That's a lot of what I was looking for. I appreciate that. Well, let's go to Patrick and then open up for any questions back to Roger or others. Go ahead, Patrick.
Thank you. For the record, this is Patrick Hanks with the Building Industry Association of Washington. This is one of the proposals that I noticed where they checked the box that there was no economic impact, but then the explanation clearly indicates that while they argue it's a minor impact, that there is an economic impact, but they did not fill out the other relevant sections that the form asks for, like a life cycle cost analysis, specific number estimates of the cost impact, the impact to small businesses, some of the cost of compliance. And the SBCC bylaws state that the technical advisory groups are supposed to consider standardized, accepted methodology to consider economic impact. And this form is what the council has adopted. So I think if you want to move forward in further considering this proposal, you should have the proponents submit a revision that appropriately fills out that section. Because I think, they make arguments and they cite studies regarding the economic impact, but this has potential to have considerable and significant economic impact that you really should get some good information, specifically, not just citing things in California or models, but some estimation of what the impact will be in Washington state if you adopt this. It doesn't necessarily hit single family homes or multifamily dwellings that I'm aware of, but just for consistency's sake and following the rules and the laws, I think that's something the tag should consider. Looking forward. I do wonder, Roger made his argument for why it fits within the confines of the code. My reading of the statutory definition of what the council ultimately should be considering is, I don't think this is a direct life safety need. It gets into indirect. And I think that starts getting into a space of things that are hard for the tag and council to consider when you start getting into really indirect aspects of health or safety, instead of just considering what the direct impacts of these materials, if they're not posing a direct life safety need or a direct hazard. That's, I think, what the council and tag members should be really focusing on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. And before you go, just either now or when you come back, can you maybe point specifically to in the WAC? I mean, I have the section open, but what you're referencing when you state how the tags should consider the economic impacts, or can we have staff, go over that again? So I just want to be careful. I don't want to go down rabbit holes on this, but I think it's
just
important.
in the bylaws under technical advisory group, item number 8.
So this is the amendment from last year.
That's
but
the law, the SBCC bylaws. Sorry.
Okay. I just think it's important that as we enter into this, especially with new tag members, can you make that bigger, perhaps?
Yes. Oop, too big.
Okay, and this last part, having gone through this process before, and shall report those findings to the work group on economic impact. How is that done, Dustin?
I wasn't here for the end of the 2021 cycle, but it's my understanding that our reports will be done as part of the or we'll make a report to the work group of economic impact as the makeup of that particular group is made up by all the tag chairs plus the council chair. So we would either do a verbal report or we would do a written report, and I would prefer to do a written report so that it's memorialized.
Okay, and then I'm just going to raise that question to Dustin, to you, staff, or other former council members, when that's done in the process. Is it after Sierra 102? Is it after Sierra 103? Just want to be open about that question. And jump in, Micah, Kishel, anybody? Roger. Dustin.
Well, on this one, it hasn't been planned out as far as the schedule that was put forward in the beginning of the year. It would be my desire to do that in between CR 102 and 103.
Okay, thank you. Micah.
All right, I was here for the last time this came around. And from my understanding, you all want to discuss the technical merits mainly during the tag. So the question or concerns that I have, let's just start with concerns. The majority of this, at least appearingly, applies to the existing buildings. That should be in the existing building code, not the building code. The way this reads is it talks about additions, alterations, substantial improvements. I don't remember substantial improvements being within the building code at this time. There'll be existing building code. When we talk about other items in here, such as reference standards, there's reference to ISO items, ASTM items, EN items. The numbers in here are not referenced in the building code currently. There's nothing in this proposal that includes those to add to reference standards that we adopt in the building code. To Roger's comment on, we only have to look at the registered professional signature on the compliance. Section 104, if this gets in the code, ultimately gives the authority to the building official to enforce the provisions of this code, to review and enforce them. not the registered design professional. So there are some things in there that, yeah, maybe the registered design professional should look at this, but that's not going to be the ultimate sign off. When we start talking about definitions, I believe the last time this came through, we had some comments on the definitions they're providing have requirements in the definitions. And they're not actually complete definitions. I believe that's a comment we made last time, and there was no revision made last time either. We're trying to move away from that. If you have requirements, put that in the code language, not the definition. The definition is there to define the item, not to have the compliance requirements within that definition. So a lot of things here. The previous comments we've had on this item or these items belong in policy from the Department of Commerce. Even in the reason statement of this proposal, it talks about the Department of Commerce driving some of these items. This is not the place for these items. The building code and enforcement by the building code official is not the place to determine what is in a product. I got a lot more to say on it, but hopefully they can take this back and revise it and try to bring it back. But I don't believe they did anything but renumber or relocate certain items and increase the building size from last time. Thanks.
Thank you, Micah. And my memory, when we considered this last time, I want to say it was 2 or 3 full sessions that we took testimony on this. So let's keep going. Shell?
Yeah, thanks. I have looked at this, and I think embodied carbon is something that should be in the codes, should be part of how our state addresses the 95% greenhouse gas reduction that is in statute. Oh, by the way, I'm Chair Anderson. I'm a Building Code Council member as well, but I'm not on this tag or associated with this tag. I'm an architect. I was on a call with architects recently, and the cost of doing this from an administrative standpoint for architects who, along with structural engineers, would be responsible for the documentation of this. Primarily, we do this on every project. We do this kind of thing on every project. It's just part of our base business services, and it takes surprisingly little time to do. I was on a firm with architects recently, and someone from a firm of 8 people that works on schools that are occasionally over 100,000 square feet said they do this on every project as well. So when we get into the type of projects that this affects, 100,000 square feet or more, it's common practice among firms in Washington to do this as a matter of service. And it's not, we're not seeing this as an additional service or as something out of the ordinary to get done. Regarding existing buildings, if you look at there's 3 compliance paths. The first one says, if you're renovating an existing building, you really have to do nothing other than renovate the existing building. You don't have to do anything else to comply with this. So that's why the existing buildings are tied into this, to, I think, Micah's question. Regarding life safety, certainly the heat domes, the wildfires are acute life safety issues, but there's also longer term life safety and cost issues. For instance, due to climate change, people in Western Washington are installing AC in their homes. This was not a cost 20 years ago, but now it's pretty much a requirement. There's cooling centers. We've experienced significantly higher temperatures in Western Washington and Eastern Washington. So there's additional costs that climate change is causing that need to be addressed, that are part of general welfare, I would suggest. I think this is a fairly well thought through proposal, and I'll talk in general terms, and I guess I've talked in general terms about that. There's specifics that I'm more than happy to get into, but I think we're kind of just going in generalities at this point. So thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, Michael.
Well, first off, I don't want to argue anything about the technical merits of this because I understand what they're trying to do and where it's going. My concern or my question is its placement in the code. Chapter 1 is purely an administrative chapter. We don't put technical requirements in chapter 1. Similarly, we really try to not put technical requirements in definitions in chapter 2. So it almost seems like if there is going to be a requirement in the building code that applies to any subset of buildings, 100,000 or more, whatever, but anything like that, it would seem like chapter 4 would be the more logical location in the structure of the code. The other thing is local jurisdictions can change whatever they want in chapter 1 without any approval of the SBCC, simply because it is an administrative chapter, and those changes don't require council approval. So that's another reason why to not have technical components in chapter 1. So that's my thought is again, I don't want to address the technical aspect, but I think the construction of the code is not quite right with this proposal.
Hey, Michael, that's interesting. Can you or someone else expand more on how that's spelled out? The ability to change locally in chapter 1, is that in statute?
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. Essentially, what it is in the section where jurisdictions have to get council approval for amendments. They do not have to get that approval for administrative provisions.
Dustin, is that in WAC then?
It is. I believe it is in WAC. That's something that I'd have to look up, and I can do that and get information to you later. But
sure, no, we all can too.
But yeah, because essentially, and this is just from my 25 years of experience of writing local ordinances for a lot of different jurisdictions, and essentially anything in chapter 1 is purely administrative. So adding technical requirements to the chapter would throw that whole balance off. It seems like that if they're going to have the technical requirements, they need to be placed somewhere in the body of the code, whether that's chapter 4 or somewhere else. And then if they want a pointer in 107.2 to say, the construction documents must include the information as required in IBC 40, whatever. So again, just as a pointer to make sure that chapter 1 remains as an administrative chapter. So I will follow up probably post meeting, and I can send you and Dustin, more information on where I'm, what I'm basing that thought on.
Okay.
And
thank you for that, Michael.
As far as the specific section, is eluding me at the moment, but there is a section, I'm not sure if it's in RCW or WAC, that allows the each jurisdiction to amend the administrative portions of the code to fit the processes within the jurisdiction. I'm looking, but I'm not finding the specific spot where that's indicated at.
And Michael and Dustin, that would imply that a local jurisdiction could completely strike out a whole section if it was amended. Is that what I'm understanding?
If it's in the administrative section, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. It's interesting. Okay, Patrick.
Thank you. I forgot to mention, just for the tag to keep in mind that the council has been directed by statute to study embodied carbon in codes, and I I believe that that study may include proposed language. And so if the legislature, really wants this considered in code, they're going to get that study in the next section, and they'll be able to take action and direct the code to adopt the proposed language if they want. And I don't know where that study's currently at. I'm sure Dustin probably knows. So just keep that in mind. And then unfortunately, I do have to leave. If the tag would be so kind to not take final action on the EV charging infrastructure proposals today, because those do have cost impacts for multifamily residential buildings, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Yep, noted.
And just to follow up on that one, we do have a study being worked on embodied carbon. It will include some proposed language as a report to the legislature. At this point, it's not a proposal for inclusion in the 2024 codes. It's just a report to the legislature, and they may direct us to adopt specific language, but we don't want them to direct us to within the RCW to have that specific language, similar to the WUI code. We're not looking for the specifics there. We're looking for the intent to be handed down.
Okay, thank you. And just looking at time, obviously we're not making a lot of progress in terms of number of proposals. So we're only scheduled till 4 today. And so let's keep going on this one, and then the next one that we would look at would be number 9 with John with the Wobble proposal. Okay, Roger, please.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments responding to Micah, and Micah and I can have long conversations about this particular topic or related topics. As far as existing buildings, this is about additions. I don't know why this would be in existing buildings at all. It only comments as if you're expanding a building, doing an expansion on a building. If you're saving 45% of it, you've met this standard. As far as nothing in the code that has anything to do with materials, there's a whole lot in the code about concrete strength, about modulus elasticity, about a lot of other things by reference to ACI. So to say that the code doesn't say anything about materials is not correct in my experience. Adding to what Chell said about the costs of climate change, he said nothing about insurance costs, which there are people in this state that are faced with not being able to get insurance because of wildfires. Firefighting costs are going through the roof. As far as the waiting for the report to go through to go to the legislature, potentially coming out of the legislature. One of the points that is made in the proposal here is that once the carbon is put into a building, it can't be taken out. Unlike operational carbon, which we could come up with a whiz-bang mechanical system that would take no energy in the future, and you could get rid of that. You can't get rid of any of the embodied carbon that goes into a building. So my opinion is we need to make a change as soon as possible. Cost benefit analysis. I don't know if Patrick is still on. This is the whole problem. Who's going to say that there is and I believe, and I can dig this up, I believe that the requirement is a significant cost benefit. I can find out that language exactly somewhere. In my opinion, this would not be a cost impact. I don't think that this would have a cost impact. That is my opinion. There are other people that may have other opinions, but here we are faced with the intent of the legislation that says if we have a cost benefit, we have to do a study. Well, according to whom? In my opinion, this does not have a cost benefit. I think the biggest thing that has come out of here is the discussion today is, I think, the chapter 1 versus chapter 4 discussion. I was not aware of that. And if chapter 1 is not the right location, then I think that we need to consider that. And I think that's exactly what the big benefits that the going through the tag process has, is getting something like this that is a technical requirement, and where does it fit in the code best? how does it fit most appropriately? I think that is what we are here to do. So I will, again, Todd, I'm not sure how much farther you want to go. Call for a vote, pass it on to continue the next week. I'll leave that up to you.
Okay, well, thank you. I think we need to exhaust everyone that wants to comment. And I do have questions, maybe Micah, you can help also, or Michael, why chapter 4? I'm just not familiar enough with why it would be potentially there, but go ahead, Micah.
Thanks. Yeah, we could debate this a lot. I find it interesting that Roger says it doesn't apply to existing building when 107.2.10.1, the second section of this proposal, deals with building reuse. That would be an existing building, which would fall under the existing building code, if I'm not mistaken. If you're doing a change of occupancy to a building and you're modifying that building, I'm not sure someone's going to come back to the building code to determine whether or not you're maintaining 45% of the structural frame of that building out of the building code. You're just going to look at your change of occupancy requirements out of the existing building code. So again, I'm not sure how Roger's coming up with this would not apply or should not apply in the existing building code.
I will respond, Micah. It's on a square foot basis. If you're changing of use, you're not adding any square footage to the building.
I'm not seeing anything that says adding onto this. Documentation of building reuse. First sentence, where the cost is greater, including existing floor area that is larger than 100,000 gross square feet. That has nothing to do with adding 100,000 square feet. If that's the case and that's their intent, Roger, it's not written that way. Let's just go with that. We don't have to debate on if it says or not. What I'm reading is it says you're modifying buildings that are larger than 100,000 square feet. That would fall under the existing building code.
2.10, the very first part says any building you are constructing, adding, altering, repairing, or substantial improvement, any building 100,000 gross square feet.
Okay. I'm not going to be looking for those requirements in the building code. I'm going to be looking, unless it's new construction, I'm going to be looking for those in the existing building code. The second thing you talked about, the materials, you're exactly right. The two items you did mention have to do with the structural strength of those materials, not the carbon that they could sequester. So again, I'm not sure having this in the building code is the right location. I'm not the only voice. Again, the thing I brought up is the technical reference standards you talk about in here. Where are these in relation to the building code? If we adopt or use reference standards, they're included or incorporated in the reference standard adopted section of the codes. Building codes, residential code, all of them have a section that has reference standards. This is pointing to specific EN reference standards, ISO reference standards, and ASTM reference standards that are not included in the current adoption of the code. We need to add those to this proposal if we want to use those, and then we would need to reference whether or not those are accurately adopted like other reference standards. And then I agree with Mr. Barth, and I appreciate him bringing that up on chapter 1. Folks can vote this right out of their jurisdiction and not include it. It probably needs to be relocated. I haven't evaluated whether chapter 4 is the appropriate location. But again, this is unfunded mandate items that, yes, the code official, the jurisdiction will have to review. And I appreciate Chael saying that, hey, this isn't a big cost expense for those providing this service. Then why can't you just provide it without requiring it in the building code like other stuff that the code official would have to then review? Thanks.
Hey, Micah, I've reread this multiple times now, and I'm not sure I'm getting clearer on it. The charging statement says, and right on top there, 107.2.10 says 100,000 gross square feet or larger shall comply with the following 3 sections, but it's an or. What does that mean? Instead of an and. I'm not clear on how to follow through this.
I'm sorry, which sentence you're reading again? Say it again.
Well, it's for anyone, I guess. It just you were commenting on this. So the
It
first
means-
section, and Roger, if you can help me too here.
Yeah, it means you need to meet either 10.1, 10.2, or 10.3.
It's intention or, and what
Yes.
you're saying, Roger, is the charging statement says new construction, additions, alterations, repair, substantial improvement, and then the next subsection there, .1, is specifically for the addition, alteration, or repair component of that.
Where you are maintaining 45% of the existing building.
Okay, and if not that, if it's new construction, then what am I looking at? I'm looking at .2 or .3.
Yes.
Keep going. I'm sharing where my mind is right now, trying to understand it.
I mean, Micah, if you are, it talks about structure. So if you're change of use, you're going to meet it anyway, because you're not changing the structure. So we can clean up the language about the charging statement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Again, if you're trying to make this technically accurate, I'm not sure how you would apply it if that's the case. And I'm pretty good at technical code. And if that's what your intent is, that's not what your technical language states. There's other hands up.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Brett.
Yes, just consideration on the placement of it and maybe others have reasons why the energy code is not the right place for this whole section. You know, the Washington State Energy Code is quite removed as a document from the IBC, and this whole section is quite significant and right now focused on, you know, in Washington State, and seems convenient to locate it in an area that is kind of wholly Washington State drafted for the most part. So just to me, it seems logical to be in that section. So I'll just leave it there.
Thank you, Brett. I'm sorry, say it once again. Logical to be where?
With the energy code.
With the energy
To keep
code.
the
Okay.
model code as clean as possible, except with our specific state amendments that change that code, and then take this whole section, which is kind of a Washington section, and tag it into the Washington State Energy Code.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Brett. Tim.
Apologize. I guess my issue with adding this to the building code is obviously this would be the first embodied carbon provision that we have. And it seems to set the stage that we could add in lots of other provisions for embodied carbon, but I'm being told that the enforcement of it is just simply making sure a report is submitted. It doesn't feel like that's the end of the goal. And if the goal is to actually make sure that these things are being accomplished, it doesn't sound like I'm of the opinion we should add things to the building code that simply require reports that nobody's actually reviewing. It seems like a Pandora's box that would never really end, of requiring different reports that, you know, address certain issues but don't actually achieve any good.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Richard.
Richard Williams, I just wanted to say that I'm in support of what Mike was talking about with existing building language. It's just change of use specific to the existing buildings. I would expect to maybe find some of this language in the IEBC, if you're gonna keep this here, some sort of a reference to get you back and, you know, get you in line with these two codes. But I do agree with what Mike is saying.
Go ahead, Micah.
Sorry, I go through it and I forget my points as I come back to them. I did want to ask about the life cycle time frame. It says the reference study period should be 60 years. And correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that the state had gone with a 50-year life cycle process, especially for energy code stuff. That's what we went with the last cost benefit analysis. And would that be better if we standardize that 50-year item and go from there? It's kind of just a general question. Thanks.
Roger, do you know the answer to that?
I can look into it. I believe that the standard whole building LCA is based on a 60-year, but I could look at that, Micah. I'm not sure. So I'd have to confirm that. I thought that's standard, and in fact, the ISO numbers that you're talking about, they are the current standards, the best that they are for whole building LCAs. So, you know, and it is a new, you know, the fact that they aren't referenced is because it is a new, you know, new measurement standard. We're figuring it out as we go.
And again, I'm not familiar with the ISO numbers or references. Again, they're not something that's adopted in the code currently.
I do want to respond to a couple comments that, you know, me as a structural engineer doing a report and putting my stamp on it. There's been some things that sort of imply that is not a big deal, and I can make the report do whatever it says. There's a whole lot of language in the licensing requirements that if I stamp something that is not true, I could lose my license. So I am currently having to do, as a structural engineer, I need to do a report at the end, a substantial completion letter that says the building has been constructed and is substantially complete in general conformance to the contract documents. That can be a hairy thing sometimes, a challenging thing sometimes. And, you know, we go through a lot of conversations with the contractor about what actually is built, if there are any outstanding RFIs. So I don't want, you know, Micah's opinion is that it is the building official that has the final say. He's a building official or comes from that side. I come from the private side. I'm the stamping engineer. If I'm going to put my stamp on it, I'm going to make damn sure that it is correct. And if the code tells me I have to do a report that says the building meets this, if I'm going to write that letter and put my stamp on it, then the building better have met that. So two different approaches to, you know, conformance to the code. Yes, it is the building official, but it is also, you know, my license that I'm stamping, saying that it has met the requirements. So,
Hey, Roger, on that, what registered design professional? Is it always the EOR? Is it the AOR? Is it both? Because then in the section above in building elements, it talks about a lot of non-structural elements too. In 17, go ahead.
yeah, I don't have that open in front of me because I've only got one screen.
Can you scroll down, Dustin? I think you're close to it. It's just the next page.
I could see what the definitions
there.
in the code are. It is the design professional of record. Whether that's the architect or the engineer, that varies. Micah could probably tell what those definitions are in the code. I'd have to go back and dig that up.
But Dustin, if you scroll up, then when you go above on the required, in this section on the life cycle, LCA, the building elements shall include all the following, and it's a mix of structural and non-structural, right? I mean, so I'm not clear as if you would an EOR, would you? Yeah.
Well, as a licensed professional engineer, I am stamping whole building LCAs that include calculating the carbon within the enclosure and the structure.
Okay.
So it is a licensed architect or engineer.
Okay, thank you. Shell, please.
Yeah, thank you. The 60-year time frame. So LCA in this case is life cycle assessment, which is defined by ISO, which is a standard that's been around for actually quite some time, and defines what a whole building life cycle analysis is. There's a lot of definitions around that, a lot of rigor around what that is. LCA in that case is different than a life cycle costing analysis required by the state of Washington, or life cycle analysis costing analysis required by Washington. the state of Washington, like the OFM tool for life cycle analysis or life cycle cost analysis. This is a totally different thing. It uses a similar acronym, however. And 60 years is the standard time frame that most software defaults to, and the standards are set up around. And that includes then replacement cycles over time, assumptions about replacement cycles, and that kind of thing. And I could deep dive into it, but I'm not going to. I think the building code is the right place for embodied carbon reductions because it covers general building requirements, and it covers building systems, and it is kind of one of the codes that points to other codes or is overarching over the other codes and is basic. I don't think the energy code is the right place for embodied carbon reductions because it covers systems that are not covered normally within the energy code. But the building code talks about those systems. So I just want to respond to those 2 points.
Thank you. Okay, everyone, before we keep going here, we're at 9 minutes left on our scheduled time. Seems like we're not going to get to other proposals, so this was the big one. How do you want to proceed? Do you want to go up to 4 o'clock and then continue next session? Or is there some action we want to take today?
Steve here. I thought Tim had his hand up, you guys.
Yeah, Tim, go ahead. I'm sorry if
I was going to make a comment on it, but it sounded like you were asking, where you wanted us to go. And so, yeah, I definitely don't even know if we'd get to a vote on this today. It seems.
Yeah, should we just keep I should keep having discussion and taking testimony until 4, and then we'll pick up next time?
That sounds right to me.
If we had a motion on there, just a motion to table items and put them onto next week's agenda. I would like to maybe also discuss a potentially longer meeting if we're moving at this pace.
Well, I think we're going to need to we need to identify a couple of these that will be longer. Like I said last time we considered this, it took 3 meetings just for this one topic. So I think we're converging a little quicker this time, but Roger, go ahead.
I just would suggest we table it but maybe not until the next meeting, but a future meeting. And next meeting, you focus on some of them to get through that aren't as, don't take as much discussion.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I think this one, the whole chapter 1, chapter 4, I think the proponent needs to really kind of deal with that. If there's some comments and the clarifications in the charging statement that can clarify that existing building thing, we can work on that. So
I think that's right. And I think just for everyone, now that we're into this, it is the intent of the TAG. We can propose edits to this, to these, and consider them, but we want to be able to see those in writing and talk about them in our meetings. And ideally, for our WAC, that we are able to see those 48 hours in advance of the meeting. So I think that's a good idea. Michael, go ahead.
Sorry, and I put my hand down when we started talking about the process, but I did want to, before we close today, I did want to follow up on the WAC for the administrative provisions, and that is WAC 5104.035. And that's the WAC where essentially any administrative provisions do not need to be run through the council for review. So, that just is the follow-up on the administrative action. There was questions too about chapter 4. I just threw chapter 4 out there is just because that's, my first thought of where you would typically look for things specific to certain buildings. I'm not suggesting chapter 4. It's just it would be a more logical place in my mind than chapters 1 or 2. You know, if there was a suggestion, you know, my personal preference, I would think that an appendix chapter to address the embodied carbon would be, you know, a logical place to start with this, where, you know, all those technical pieces can be hashed out and an appendix chapter written, and then the state, you know, decide on where to apply that appendix chapter. So that's, you know, whether appendix chapter, chapter 4 or whatever, really doesn't matter. But yeah, again, just following up on that WAC 5104035. Thank you.
Thank you for both of them, Michael. I think that's a good suggestion also to consider on should this be in an appendix. I'd love to hear from others on precedents for that, but thank you. Okay, with 5 minutes left, I think we can take maybe one more comment if there is one. Otherwise, I'll pause there first. Is there another comment? Okay, if not, can we hear a motion to table this petition for a future meeting, and also, I guess, table the rest of our agenda, or move the rest of our agenda forward to the next meeting?
I'll make a motion to table this item as well as the rest of the agenda to our following meeting.
Thank you.
This is Tim W.
Thank you, Tim.
Just to be clear, we're not looking to necessarily address this proposal at the next meeting, correct?
No, I liked was it Roger's suggestion that this is we'll start isolating the big ones and dedicate time to those so that we can, when we invite proponents in on the other petitions, that we can move through those in a timely manner.
Agreed. Friendly amendment accepted.
Thank you. There's a second?
Mike Barth.
Second.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Michael.
As amended.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Good start, everyone. Thank you. Appreciate taking the time to just make sure we all understand the process before we jump in or agree to the process. If there's anything you disagree with on how we're doing this, just please let us know, because we can course correct and make sure that we document this really well. So this is the fun part. So thank you, everyone, and we are adjourned.
May I just ask a quick clarifying question as a
Yeah,
follow-up?
of course.
Just as a, you know, I understand that this item has been tabled. Just want to make sure that we have what is the follow-up in terms of, like, as a proponent, do we get some written feedback that we can respond to ahead of when this agenda is taken up again? Like, how should we basically follow up, and what should we be doing?
May I touch base on
Yeah,
that one?
of course, Dustin. Yeah.
Okay.
So Smita, on that one, staff will reach out to you and let you know that your proposal will be on the agenda, kind of like we did this previous time. And my advice on maybe coming with some, or I just have some advice on maybe considering a location in chapter 4 if it fits in there as part of the proposal, and just kind of digest the conversation and maybe come prepared to talk about maybe potential pivots in your proposal. And if you wanted to submit something to me to supplement what we have, I'd be more than happy to make that available to the group here before our meeting as well.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, and appreciate everybody's time and comments.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now I mean it. 1 minute to go, or we're
Thank
adjourned.
you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.